When we think of art, many things can come up. Perhaps beauty like the Mona Lisa, wonder like the statues of David, or the mural on the Sistine Chapel. But there's a negative emotion that I want to cover more, and that's kind of on pain. You may think that's not necessarily the case, that pain's focused on a lot, but oftentimes with art it seems that a morally corrupted character or a motive piece is more enjoyable than those without emotions. A villain of a story can outshine the hero, or perhaps a protagonist of the story is a villain, or morally dubious at best. And we see art take up many different avenues and explore many different emotions. But pain, or just negative emotions in general, tend to conjure up the most emotions, the most profound emotions. And while there are many paintings that describe positive emotions, the negative emotions can bring up a more somber, reflective mood. And when I think of this, I think of the scene in The Idiot by Dostoevsky, in which the protagonist, Prince Mishkin, sees a painting of the body of the dead Christ in the tomb, and he says, "Why, a man's faith might be ruined by looking at that picture." This scene in the book was, of course, a reflection of the protagonist, but like many characters in the book, and many aspects of the book, it's a lot of Dostoevsky's thoughts. And while this video is not necessarily on The Idiot or Dostoevsky, it shows that pain or negative emotions in general, they can bring up a lot of profound emotions. And with the body of the dead Christ in the tomb, Dostoevsky, there's a story of him in the art gallery staring at the painting for a very long time, just contemplating. And that's the power of negative emotions. Yeah, while happiness is fleeting, and oftentimes we remember happiness with glee, it goes. And we remember those happy times in life, but pain, suffering, sadness, those are the emotions that bring out the profoundness in us, because you, me, everyone feels these emotions, and thus there's empathy for ourselves and for whatever the piece of art depicts. No one is empathetic to those that are happy, but to those that are suffering, and everyone can relate to that, whatever the situation may be. Now, the definition of art, at least to Tolstoy, and I always come back to Tolstoy because I like his definition, and he said it was something along the lines that it's the ability for the artist to convey their emotion in the art. And whatever the emotion may be, and of course I'm focusing more on the negative emotions, the negative emotions are quite powerful because suffering, right, whatever description you want to call it, whatever pain, sadness, loneliness, it's a universal human experience, an experience that no one wants to experience. But that's part of the human condition, to suffer, as is life. We all have suffered, and hopefully we all have been happy. And art that reflects pain can be a reflection of our own emotions, perhaps that we ourselves are dealing with. The power of art is that you experience the emotion through that medium, and in a way you experience what had led up to that event in the piece of art and the whole story of it. Now I'll give you an example of another painting with quite a more brutal tone, and that's the painting in which Ivan the Terrible kills his son. Now, I mean, I've never killed my son, but that doesn't really stop me or anyone for that matter to be able to empathize and see how Ivan had felt. Through this painting, we can see how Ivan feels, his regret, his pain in his eyes. And while murder is never permissible, there's a sense of remorse for Ivan, because you can tell he feels guilt, he feels the regret, and it's very powerful in this painting. And to everyone, art has a different meaning. To me, this painting can mean a lot. With a painting like this, you can see the horror and pain that such a crime can cause. Art is a portal into what we experience, but it also showcases the worst and best aspects of life. With this painting of Ivan the Terrible and his son, we can understand how horrible some acts can be. By experiencing the emotion through the painting, we see it through his eyes, and maybe you can be deterred from ever doing such a detestable act. Art and media in general have the impact to change many lives. Through art, you have the power to make someone denounce the act of war, and through the same medium, you have the power for someone to feel enough anger to feel the urge to go to war. This is why media and our understanding of it is so important to us, whether we realize it or not. Media art It can be the reason why we go to war, and it can also be the reason why we end it. One of my favorite depictions of the said morally dubious man, a man who suffers great pain, is Raskolnikov in the book Crime and Punishment, again by Fyodor Dostoevsky. So Crime and Punishment follows Raskolnikov, and he's this poor student in St. Petersburg who deals with the moral dilemma of a murder and robbery of his pawnbroker. Through Raskolnikov, we see how one may justify something so horrible as murder, and subsequently the effects of that murder. Although Raskolnikov commits such a heinous act, he's not one-dimensionally evil. Throughout the book, he does some good deeds, like helping out a disenfranchised family after their father had died, so they were left with nothing essentially. And he gives them the money he has very little of. In Crime and Punishment, it shows the morally complex nature of life, and while it's very hard to summarize a piece of work like that, it just shows you that life isn't so one-dimensional. Raskolnikov is not good, of course, but neither is he all that bad. He does good, he does bad, like everyone. You kind of have to be the judge and the punisher and see, is he guilty enough? But like many characters in the book, he's flawed, but we all are flawed. And Dostoevsky is an expert at portraying complexity of thought, of emotion, and of the nature of human living. The beauty of Dostoevsky and other writers, painters, artists, whomever, they're all able to capture the complexity of the human spirit that we all experience, and the varying emotions we all feel. That is the beauty of art, and the reason why we enjoy pieces of art that make us feel such a way. It gives us the ability to be introspective, to understand what we feel by experiencing the piece of art. Reflection is a powerful tool used in order to better understand ourselves and our emotions. Art, especially painful art, can give us the ability to ponder what we believe and our own truths. Raskolnikov ponders his reason for his murder, and we too ponder alongside with him, dealing with his justifications and deciding whether or not he is truly justified. Art can be used for many things. It can help you deal with your own emotions and offer an outlet that encapsulates how you feel. It can show you the horrors of life, the truths of life, and bring you a greater understanding of yourself and others. The power of painful art is hopefully now a little more obvious, and the use of art in general should not be understated, especially with its power to influence our decisions like war. Art takes form in many different ways and serves many different purposes, but painful art can allow us to understand ourselves in a separate way through the empathy of the piece and through the story of it, whether it be a painting, a piece of writing, or music. Art as a whole can convey messages that typical words wouldn't do justice. It can explain complex issues with ease through characters of a story or through the words in a book. That is the power of art. Now, tell me, do you have a favorite piece of art? Specifically a painful piece of art? Do you think painful art is dominant or what? Let me know, and thank you.